It's prediction time. What are we predicting for Boston College football for the 2021 season? Listen today on Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. On today's show, we're going to dive in and do our prediction show. This is going to be our big one where we give you game-by-game predictions on every game that Boston College plays, along with our end-of-the-year predictions in terms of their record and some other little tidbits that we're going to add as well. And before we get into that, let's jump into the news. So yesterday, if you listened to yesterday's show, you know I kind of ranted and I kind of raved a little bit about the Alliance and their non-signed contract deal that they made. And today, the news came out that the reason that they didn't sign it was because one of the plaintiffs, and I think it was either the O'Bannon case or one of the other antitrust cases that came down from student athletes against the NCAA, basically threatened them that if they signed it, that this would be a big deal because they talked about working together on athlete compensation. So to the lawyers there, it sounded like that could be collusion, that could be against their best interests. So that's why they didn't sign anything. That might not be the only reason, but that's where they were at. Still, as I've said before, I don't really like that. Now, the next piece is not about news per se, as in my perspective, as I continue to talk more about the Alliance and some of the things that I'm reading. And one of the things that pops up over and over again are fans telling me that Boston College is going to be left behind. So yes, this morning, actually on Wednesday morning, I got a tweet that said, I hate to say it, but if restructuring is a nightmare scenario for BC, college team in a pro sports town brings nothing to any conference. We better hope the Alliance works or we will be relegated to Ivy League status. All it takes is for Clemson and FSU to leave for the SEC. Yes, I get it. We are a sports town. We're a pro sports town. However, I disagree. Boston is still a sports town too. And when you look at rating, when Boston College plays teams like Notre Dame or Clemson, the ratings are high. And I know partially that is due to the team that they're playing against, but Boston as a market hits high. It doesn't matter who's playing there. And so getting teams like Boston College on the national scale, it does get attention as much as you don't want to think so. And I get it too that like maybe we don't bring the most fans in. I still think you're going to want to watch to see what happens at this first season under Jeff Hafley, because I think that perception will probably go away a little bit, as I get a feeling that that stadium is going to be pretty packed. When you're looking at all of this, the big thing is when you're looking at the perspective of the conference realignment or the shifts and everything, they are looking at making money and they want big markets, right? Now, you may say, oh, they're going to go after Boise State or they're going to go after UCF. Use some deductive logic here. What's a bigger market, Boise or Boston? Just take Boston College out of it. Just talking about markets itself. And if you say anything other than Boston, you're insane, because Boston is a humongous market. And one of these conferences are going to want to get into that market. That's why Boston College is in a conference. That's why Rutgers, they kind of hit the New York market. That's why they are in a major conference. It's because they want those big media markets, and Boston College opens that. UConn does not. Boise State does not. And UCF, as much as they want to, they are a fish in a pond with a lot of other big fish. So they kind of dilute that. So Boston College is not going to be knocked out of the party during this. And I think because they're an attractive market, they really are. And if BC plays better, you'll see why it's an attractive market. And I think that's what we're going to see this year. In a moment, we're going to kick off our talks about my predictions for the season. I mean, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know what my predictions are record-wise, but I will give you game by game what I think is going to happen and what my end of the season prediction and where they'll go bowling and all that good stuff in just a moment. Before we get into that, though, the reason we're doing our prediction show on Thursday and not on Friday this week is we have a special announcement. Friday is our 200th episode. We've been on air for 200 episodes of Locked On Boston College. Really excited about that. We have a special guest that I am so excited to get on, and that is Sion Hala, who is a free safety linebacker hybrid, class of 2022 recruit for Boston College who's committed. He's a 4-star. He's a kid I've talked to. If you follow me on BC Bulletin, I've talked to almost every recruit. Sion is the one I have not talked to yet. He's going to come in for a full interview. I am so pumped. So if you want to know about the future of Boston College, you want to know about a defensive star that's on the rise, you're going to want to check out tomorrow's show where I interview Sion Hala and give you all that breakdown. But before we get into that, let me tell you about our title sponsor, RockAuto.com. Rock Auto is a family business that has been serving auto parts customers for over 20 years. Why spend 30, 50, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership when you can head over to Rock Auto and save? The prices are reliably low for every customer, and it's easy to use. All you do is head over to RockAuto.com and use their easy to navigate catalog. You put your make and model in, boom, all their parts will come up for you, whether it's brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, or even new carpet. And when you go over to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, write Locked On in there. How did you hear about us box? So they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. This is AJ Black. I am the editor and publisher of BC Bulletin. Check out my work at bcbulletin.com. You can find me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC. So check us out there as well. Now, it's that time. I can't believe the summer is almost over. Fall is here. On next Saturday, Boston College kicks off their 2021 season against Colgate, a 12 o'clock start at Alumni Stadium. And this is going to kick off the 2021 season in a way that I think many of us have been dying for. It's been over 2 years since Boston College has played at Alumni Stadium, and now we have a new coach. Jeff Hafley's here. He has got the energy going in Alumni Stadium, and for the fan base itself, they're just really dying to get in there too. So let's get into what I predict. We're going to go game by game. I will give you every game and what I predict will happen. We've gone over each game itself in the past. You can go back into our archives and check out, if you want the Colgate Umass preview, just go back there. Boom, it's right there for you. But I'll give you a little bit of, a quick snippet on each game. So Colgate, that's a Patriot League team that has a new head coach. I don't think they have a chance in heck against Boston College. This is Tem Lokabu's homecoming against the team he played for in college, and I think BC's going to win by 40-plus points. This is going to be just like that Holy Cross game a couple years ago under Steve Addazio. If you remember Holy Cross, they just were not in that game. They basically stayed around on some BC. They only scored when BC made horrible mistakes, but BC's offense just clicked and couldn't stop them. BC's offense is better this year, and I don't think they have any. So I don't think Colgate will have any chance of stopping Boston College. They're going to start the season off 1-0 and send home fans excited. Game number 2 is against Umass. This game is at McGuirk Stadium on the September 11th date. Boston College last time beat UMass, I think it was 2018, by 55-21 in a game. BC just smoked them. I expect much more of the same. Now, UMass last year, they had a new head coach, a lot of changes all over the place. I wasn't even sure they were going to play last year. Maybe they get the program going in the right direction soon enough. I don't see it right now. Now, that being said, McGuirk Stadium, you know the rivalry between Boston College and UMass. I mean, UMass fans hate BC. They're the rich kids. They're the program that they think is their rivals. And UMass is going to be amped up for this. This is going to be a big home game for them. That being said, I don't think they have any chance of stopping Boston College. I expect BC to win by 28 to 32 points on this one. Maybe the defense lets up a touchdown or two and, UMass gets a little energy there. But I think BC's going to, when you're looking at all these early games, you ask the question, how can that defense stop Zay Flowers? Or how can this defense stop Jalen Gill? First 2 games, UMass and Colgate, there is no answer. They do not have an answer to stopping either of those guys. And as long as Phil Drakovic can pick apart what he wants to do, I just think BC's offense is going to be too much for these two teams. BC starts the season off 2-0. Now, it's going to go 3-0 when they face Temple at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. It's another road game. So 2 road games against 2 teams which are not powerhouses, which is interesting, but that's the way the scheduling works. Boston College had played Temple a couple years ago in a game that Steve Addazio barely won. That was a nail biter in a game that they should have smoked Temple, but they didn't. Temple has regressed. Temple is, they struggled last year. I think they were 3-8. They're not very good. They lost a ton on defense, including 2 stars to BC. So I think BC is going to win this game by 21 to 24 points. I was on a radio show in, I want to say Arkansas, where they were telling me, don't sleep on Temple. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sleep on Temple. Again, I'm the radio. I'm a podcast host. I'm not the players. Believe me, Jeff Hafley will have them energized and ready to go. I'm just saying, as someone who's not analyzing these games, these first 3 games, Boston College should win easily. And I might be underselling how much they win these games because, Colgate's bad. Umass is like one of the 2 worst teams in FBS, and Temple's right down there with them. So these are 3 games that BC should really get a chance to not only establish their starters. That defense, they're going to have some guys in there that haven't really had a chance to start. You want to see how they do. You want to see what Isaiah Graham-Mobley does at linebacker, or if Cam Arnold's starting at linebacker, whoever's there. You want to get that chance for them to get those in-game reps, get out of it healthy, and play. But on top of that, these games should also allow Jeff Hafley to use some of his depth. You got on defense, you have players like Cam Arnold, Bryce Steele, Owen McGowan, Casey Finney, and then you have Sean Asbury and Clinton Burton Jr. on defense, and then some of the defensive ends. You got guys that need to get out there. You want to get them those reps. So hopefully Boston College can jump out to leads in all 3 of these games real early. You get Phil Drakovic out of there. You get Dennis Grosel in, and all those other backups, they get their chance to play. That's big. That's what they really need out of those 3 games. But they will survive 3-0. Now, my co-host, or guest, I should call him a guest because he's not on enough to be a co-host, but Mitch Wolf, who also writes for BC Bulletin, we've talked back and forth about what we think of Missouri. Now, Missouri comes to Boston College the week after, and this is a big game. This is the game that every Boston College fan should circle on their calendar for the first month, because this really will show if BC is a contender or they're a pretender. Because Missouri, under Eli Drinkowitz, is going to be an SEC team that could be sneaky good this year. They've got some talent on defense. Their quarterback isn't that bad. I think they've got some real talent at wide receiver. BC's going to they're going to get tested here. Now, if you listen to me on some of my predictions, I have BC winning this game, but I don't think it's going to be a big win for BC. I think BC wins by 1 touchdown, 6 points, but I think you'll get to see what this defense does against an offense that can sort of move the ball and how they play against a defense. I think what ends up happening in the Mizzou game that's going to put BC at 4-0 is, again, that offense. I really have high expectations of this offense. And against Mizzou, I think they're going to probably put up some points. And then before we hit our next break, let's talk about Clemson, because this is the first, BC, if they go 4-0, they will be ranked. That was one of my predictions from last week. I said they're going to be ranked. They're going to go into Death Valley. They're going to play Clemson at a night game on, I think it's homecoming as well. This is a humongous game. And I have stuck with my guns about what this game is going to end up being, and I don't have a good feeling about it. So BC at this point is 4-0. They're going to leave Death Valley 4-1. Clemson is as close to being beatable for Boston College as we've ever seen. Last year BC had them on the ropes. They just couldn't land that haymaker to knock them out. And then DJ Uiagalelei, he came in and, he turned it on, and that was it. Now, Clemson, they have a good defense, and I worry about what that's going to do to Phil Drakovic if the offensive line is not playing as well as they should be. Add in, players like Justin Ross and some of those other guys on offense around DJ, and all of a sudden you get a game that's going to be a challenge. I think, Eric Hoffs has said it in our post on the site today, that this is the closest BC's ever going to get to Clemson. I just don't think they have enough. I don't see the defense having enough to stop DJ and those offensive weapons. I think BC will score some points, but I got Clemson winning by like 14 points. I think they're going to win this, and BC will be 4-1 heading into the second stretch of the season. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But first, let's chat a little bit about BetOnline. BetOnline is it's that time of year again, and all eyes are turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. And as always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including online's biggest $500,000 NFL mega contest and the world's largest $200,000 NFL contest, Survivor, open now at BetOnline. Head over to the website and use promo code LOCKEDON for a 100% welcome bonus. You're not going to beat that. Be sure to take advantage of their opening day super promo. Make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th game between the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers and the Dallas Cowboys, and if you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25 for new customers only when signing up and using promo code NFL100. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, from football, basketball, and boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait and take advantage of the great offers available for the 21 season. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. This is Locked On Boston College. We are going over BC football schedule. And as I said earlier in the episode, if you have not checked out, we're going to be doing tomorrow's episode is episode 200. And we have Boston College commit Sion Hala coming on to talk about his commitment to Boston College. It's an episode you will not want to miss. So at this point, we have Boston College at 4-1 after losing to Clemson. And then they head home to face against NC State. This is a 50-50 game if there ever was one. It's at home at Chestnut Hill, so I think that gives Boston College a bit of an edge. I like NC State. I think they're a well-put-together team that has talent all over the place, but their quarterback play, that's the big difference between Boston College and the Wolfpack. I like BC's quarterback. Devin Leary has to show it, and I haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to BC winning this and moving up to 5-1. That's a big win for BC, and it might get them to stay in the top 25. A good win against a team that has been projected to be one of the top teams in the ACC. I think they'll win that. However, I think they will get their second loss when they face off against Louisville at the Cardinal Stadium. Now, this is a homecoming game for the Cardinals. The question around the Cardinals for me is, can they fix their turnover problems last year? Malik Cunningham, their quarterback, he couldn't hold on to the ball. And last year, even with Phil Drakovic down, because Louisville just couldn't stop turning it over, BC ended up winning that game. I don't like this game. I don't like that it's on the road. I don't think it matches up well for Boston College. I think this will be one of their sneaky, stupid losses. I think this will be it. I think BC will lose to Louisville. However, they will get back into the win column against Syracuse, because Syracuse is going to be garbage this year. Sorry, Syracuse fans, if you're listening. I don't like Dino Babers' offense. I don't think it's going to work this year. He has no quarterbacks. They lost a ton of talent on defense. They've been recruiting like garbage. I think this team is done. I think they're going to lose badly to Boston College, even though the Eagles are going to be on the road. I think this is an easy win for BC. BC beat them last year with Phil Drakovic with one arm. I know Syracuse didn't have their quarterback either, but I think they were more talented back then. So I think BC wins that game big. I think that's like a 35-point win. And one of those games, just like with the Dazio beating them, I think BC's going to stomp them. And Dino Babers, one of my predictions I've said all along, will not be the Syracuse head coach in 2022. So we have 4 more games. BC is up to 6-2 at this point. And I like where they're standing. I think it's a good start for the year. And, at this point, you'd have to think the energy level, the excitement will be off the charts for the Eagles. And then they get Virginia Tech at home. Now, I have said all along, just like I said Dino Babers gets fired, I said Justin Fuente will also get fired. And this is later in the season. I think it lines up well for Boston College. It's the red bandana game. It's a Friday night game, so Boston College is going to be jumping. I like Boston College in this game. Jeff Hafley could not be happy last year with the way his team played against Virginia Tech when they got smoked in Blacksburg. I think this year this is got a lot of those guys. Hendon Hooker's gone. Khalil Herbert's gone. Braxton Burmeister could be the answer for Virginia Tech, but I like BC in this game. So that gives them up to 7-2. They're going to go up to 8-2 when they face off against Georgia Tech. This is a nice stretch for BC. I like Georgia Tech, but I think BC's better than them. I'm selling high on Georgia Tech. I like them as a program. I think Jeff Collins has them going in the right direction. I don't think BC's going to smoke them like they did last year, but I think BC will beat them. I think they're a better team than Georgia Tech, but I think Georgia Tech will go in the right direction this season, and they probably will be a bowl team too. Now, here is loss number 3, and it's going to stink. Florida State. I have BC losing to Florida State. And I have had on Locked On ACC, the other podcast I co-host once a week, which you can check out tomorrow. I have Florida State as one of my surprise teams. I like Mackenzie Milton. I think Mike Norvell, he went through his drama last year, but I think he's going to have that team clicking this year. I think, there'll be a what the heck game. It will be this. And I think BC's going to lose to Florida State at home. And I hate it because you're going to have to listen to those tomahawk chops, but I think they're on their road back, and I think BC's going to lose to them. And then a team that I am not buying on, again, they're going to finish the season 9-3 with a win over Wake Forest. Again, it's a home game. I have BC as a slight favorite in this one. I don't buy Sam Hartman. Wake Forest is a fine team. Jaquari Robertson, their wide receiver, is good. And they've got some other solid players, but I think BC has more star power and will beat them. So that gets to BC at 9-3. They'll be borderline top 25 at this point. So where do they end up at a bowl game? The top 3 bowls are the Fiesta Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and the Orange Bowl. So I think the Fiesta Bowl is going to go to Clemson. I think the Cotton Bowl is going to go to UNC. And I think the Orange Bowl could be, it depends on how Boston College does, but I think it's going to go to Miami. I think Miami will go to the Orange Bowl. I think where BC ends up, I think there's 2 games that they could end up at, 2 bowl games they could end up at. One is the Sun Bowl, and the other one is the Mayo Bowl. And I know you're thinking, oh, God, on both of those. So the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl is the ACC versus the Pac-12. Who could they play? They could play a team like Washington. They could play a team like UCLA or Colorado, depending on how Colorado is this year. But I think they're going to end up at the Duke Mayo Bowl. That's where my prediction is at. And I think they're going to play Ole Miss. And I think they're going to play against Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. And I think BC will win that bowl game and finish the season at 10-3. How's that for a season? They will be top 25 if they finish with 10 wins. And that will give you all of the momentum heading into the postseason. What will happen? I think Zay Flowers and Phil Drakovic end up in the NFL draft. And Boston College has to move on. And as I said before, Dennis Grosel or a transfer probably will be the quarterback in 2022. But you want to enjoy the excitement because a 10-3 season, that's better than anything Boston College has seen since 2007. That's almost 15 years. I think it's going to happen this year. I think Boston College is going to have a special season. I think you're going to see Zay Flowers as either number 2 or number 3 in receiving in the ACC. I don't think he's going to beat Justin Ross, and maybe Roberson's going to beat him as well, but I think he'll be right up there. But I think the big name this year is going to be Phil Drakovic. Phil Drakovic is going to throw for 3,500 plus yards. He's going to throw for 30 touchdowns. He is going to be electric, and he's going to mark himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And I think that's what we'll all be talking about in December. This is AJ Black. Thank you all for listening. Remember, tomorrow's show, we have a special guest for episode number 200. You're going to want to check that out. And make sure to follow us on YouTube. Just head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. You'll get all our podcasts sent directly to you. Again, follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC or at Boston College, Bulletin BC on Twitter. And you can find our podcast at Locked On BC wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you all and have a great day.